very good morning to everybody. Today it's my it's a big honour to introduce our guest today, Karen McInerney from Computer Centre, and we're going to explore today. Our subject is from childhood dreams to corporate leadership. We're going to discover how Karen turned a childhood ambition into corporate leadership at one of the world's top tech companies. From just 7 years old, Karen boldly declared to her teacher and classmates that she would become an accountant. Fast forward to today, and Karen has not only fulfilled that dream, but has soared beyond it, leading as the group financial controller at Computer Centre. So today we're going to go on an inspiring adventure. Karen shares her incredible story from her early ambitions to a role in which she's managing the finance operations of a group without responsible for more than £10 billion worth of revenue, 20,000 employees, and offices and factories and so on across the globe in the UK, France, Germany, and North America, and service centers located in Hungary, India, Poland, Mexico, and Romania. We're going to explore how determination, vision, and a passion for numbers have driven Karen to the top. So, Karen, it's a very good morning to you.
Good morning, everybody. And it may be 8:30 there, it's 7:30 here. So apologies if I look a little tired. I'm in the UK this morning and very excited to be talking with you all today.
Excellent. Okay, so let's get cracking then. So I've built it all up with this introduction. So let's go into that in more detail then. So how did you get to where you are today?
Okay. Well, as you said, the 7-year-old with ambition. So let me tell you about that first of all, which was that my earliest memory of showing any sort of interest in any career was as a 7-year-old, which is in the UK. It's the first year of junior school, and the teacher was going around the class and one by one asking people, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" And lots of people went through this, and there was a nurse, a doctor, a policeman, those sort of traditional things that 7-year-olds know about, and the careers that people know about at that age. And it got to me, and I boldly declared, as you said, that I was going to be an accountant. And I have to be honest, I had no idea what an accountant was, but my father was an accountant and I was good at maths. So I thought, yes, that's what I'm going to say. And the teacher looked at me and moved on to the next girl. And she said she was going to be a hairdresser. And I always remember the teacher congratulating her for having an ambition that was realistic. That's what she said. And sometimes I really do wish I could go back into that class and just prove and tell the teacher how damaging it can be to quash people's ambitions at such an early age. But anyway, it was a small point, but that's the first time I really thought I would be an accountant. I went through school and up to the age of 18, did A levels in the UK, and then I went to university and I chose a course which was accounting and financial analysis. And I went to Newcastle University, got my degree 3 years later, and then joined professional practice with KPMG, or what is now KPMG. I think it was Pete Marwick at the time, but the firm that is KPMG, and joined them under a training contract for a 3-year period. So at no point did I ever think of doing anything else. I was 100% focused on being an accountant, and I think much to my father's delight, I got there straight away. I qualified in 1990. I spent another 2 years in Newcastle. Then I moved to KPMG in Manchester. I had another year there with some bigger clients. It's a bigger city, and they had a different set of clients to work on. And then I moved to Singapore for a year. And I worked with Coopers and Lybrand at the time in Singapore, again doing audit and that professional practice piece. And it was a real experience being an expatriate in a country that's such a long way from home. But the trip was, or the experience was a bit short because of other circumstances. And I came back to the UK in 1994. At that point, I'd probably had enough of professional practice, and so being an auditor. And I think looking back, that's a very wise decision. And I wanted to move out into industry and take my qualification and become the accountant of a company. I did some interviews. I returned to the southeast of England, and I went along to see a reseller, an IT reseller based in Watford, who had about 1,000 people, UK only company, and 400 million of turnover. And I joined that company and thought, it played to my strengths. It was the kind of role I wanted. It was sort of central to everything, bit of tax, bit of accounting, bit of lots of different aspects of finance. And I joined that company, and the rest is history, so to speak. So that's 30 years ago. I'm within 3 months of my 30-year anniversary at Computer Centre, which is where I have been since then. That company that was 400 million of turnover, as you said at the beginning, is now 10 billion of revenue, or of gross invoiced income. And given the forum that we're in, I just make you all aware that that's collecting about 40 million of cash every working day, and that's what the teams do for me. So it's a very large organization, and it's very, very different to the company I joined. The 1,000 people in the UK, the 1,000 people in the UK is now 20,000 people globally. And so that is, as I say, a very different organization to the one I joined.
Do you ever stop to think about that? If I may ask, I think, blimey, that's big. Is it?
I think it's, it's a phenomenal growth, and it's, the expression, it's over a 30-year period that growth has happened. And so there was not really an overnight thing that took it from a small company to a very large company. We have been through the path of being a medium-sized company as well. And so, that's like the boiling frog, so to speak. You don't realize how big it's getting. I think the question people often ask is, why do you stay at somewhere for 30 years? How do you, stay interested for 30 years? Are you still doing the same job you were doing on day one? And the answer to that is that it's that growth of opportunity, and the growth and the different things we've done over the years. Some of the milestone projects, like a bond issue, a flotation, acquisitions, creating and setting up the shared service center and making sure finance operations work, system changes, enormous great system changes, all of those projects which might last 2 or 3 years. They're overlapping. They just always have. It means that it's always something different to wake up to. And I would say I'm extremely lucky that I've never in those 30 years had that sort of Sunday evening feel of, oh, it's work tomorrow, and that, I think, is a blessing, and it is something that really helps a career to thrive, and to help people develop in their careers.
And is it fair, like, as you were saying there, about there's been evolution, or regular new things happening?
Yeah.
I guess so you joined Computer Centre, and by the clue is in the name, isn't it? It was a company that's very much involved in technology and so on. And 30 years ago, from my recollection, really was a time of that was when it kind of really kicked off, wasn't it? What we see today, I think a lot of what started happening was around about the 90s, wasn't it? There was, when Excel was really coming to prominence and emails and things like that. So I guess you were really very much at the beginning of something that's become normal today.
Yeah, and it didn't feel like the beginning because the company was founded in 1981 and I joined in 1994. So there was 13 years worth of history, and there are still people today working in the organization who have been there much longer than me. There's not many of them, but there was a lot of history, and you're right. The IT sector is definitely something that was buoyant, was driven, and the pace of change accelerates and accelerates. When the beginning of Computer Center, the business was very simple. It was a reselling business. We just started doing some managed service type contracts and maintenance contracts, and we were expanding that services piece as alongside the reselling and the distribution of IT equipment. But over the last 30 years, I think that business is unrecognizable compared with what we do for our customers today, which is very much more complex, problem solving, global operations for global customers. And the pace of change of technology is increasing exponentially. So we have to keep up, and it drives it drives the way our business is, and that in itself gives you, I wouldn't call them micro challenges, but much smaller pieces of work to do on how to account for something or how to transact something, a piece of business that we are now selling to customers. Those are the kind of challenges that make the job interesting, really, and hopefully help a lot of people have some fantastic careers within the organization.
And then carrying on from that theme, then where does your personal drive and motivation come from? What is it within you that pushes you along?
Yeah, I when I reflect on that question, I think about the fundamental motivation. So of course I'm an accountant, and of course I love a spreadsheet and I love numbers and those sort of things, but that I don't think is what really drives me as an individual. So if I can tell you a short story, anybody from the Computer Center team may have heard this one before, but this is my Annika Rice story. So let me explain what this is about, because this is what I've learned about my own motivations and what I need to be happy and content and fulfilled in the role. So I'm going to take us back to 1990, which is the year that I qualified as a chartered accountant. I'd aced the exams. I'd absolutely aced the exams, and I thought I was marvelous. I thought I was about to conquer the world and have a fantastic glittering career, and everybody would want me on their team. And at the time in 1990, it was when the Eastern Bloc was starting to open up in Europe, and in the West, we were starting to see news footage of what was going on behind previously what had been the Iron Curtain, or where communism had been the prevailing force. So on the news footage, we were particularly getting quite a lot of coverage about what had been found in Romania and in some orphanages in Romania, where the conditions had been awful. There was a lot of poor children with special needs were just left in places, in buildings that were falling apart, and it was a very traumatic piece of reporting. And there was, at the time in the UK, there was a presenter on TV called Annika Rice, and she used to do a show called Challenge Annika. And what she would do is she would get a challenge for a week. For example, repaint the scout hut, or garden in an old people's home, or something well intentioned and charitable. And she would do this, and she would phone people and say, oh, can you help me with this? Can you do this? Can you bring this? I need some plasterers, or I need these materials. And the show was about her begging people to come and help her with her mission. When the orphanages were seen, she had gone to see one, and she did a show in which she was going to renovate one particular orphanage, and she was on TV doing her appeal for different professions. People, and it was the biggest thing in the Challenge Annika calendar ever, I think. And we saw her asking for, I need plasterers, I need builders, I need plumbers, I need decorators, I need nurses, I need nursery nurses, I need people to come and clean. I need hairdressers because the children had not had haircuts. And this huge long list of professions that she needed to put on a bus to take over to Romania and help her with her work. And it struck me that she never yet got down to the profession of accountant. And as a newly qualified accountant, this was quite the revelation for me, that I wasn't the most useful person on the planet in any stretch of the imagination. And I did feel that I needed something personally to give as well. So I think of some of the things that I've done in my career, and we'll talk about some of these other things as sort of my Annika Rice moments, if you like. So this is where I'm taking a team, I'm helping them to develop, I'm taking creating a program or something like that, which is going to help other people to develop. Nobody is going to remember me for my spreadsheets, but they may remember me for my inspiration in their career or something like that. So that's my motivation. That's the deep down motivation, is that I like to see people succeed. In terms of the next level, I also like to complete things. I like to see things finished. I like to see a project completed and implemented. I think I have a skill for explaining technical topics to people, so I get a buzz out of being able to explain something quite technical to a non-technical set of people. And so there's a number of sort of little wins, if you like, for me, with things that I enjoy doing, which when you put it together enables me to fulfill the requirements of the role. But I'd say it's mostly about people and getting the best out of people.
So, so I think you say you're identifying then that as a character, those characteristic charts, that you're a finisher, but I also see that you're a starter as well?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yes, very much.
Yeah, no, I have. I have notebooks, and everybody probably has notebooks, but I actually have a cupboard that I have to clear out, which has 30 years of those notebooks. And you can go back, and all the things that we wanted to do, and the things that we said we would do. We made a note, I should do this, we should do this. And it's a discipline, let's say, to continue to go back to those books and make sure, did I do everything I noted? Did I think about? I have now one of these electronic notebooks, this remarkable things. I don't know if you've seen those, but it's basically a year and a half's worth of I don't know if you can see it, but a year and a half's worth of notes in this now, and I carry it everywhere, and I can flick back and say, have I done everything? So yeah, I think there's a lot of idea generation. I am not the most creative person I know in the room, so I need other people with ideas to come and shout up and speak up, but I will help shepherd the ideas to something which is deliverable.
I think and that fits nicely. We had a comment just now. Somebody from, I think from Brno in the Czech Republic, asked Do you know the Monty Python accountant sketch?
I do, and
Yeah.
I strive. So the Monty Python accountants are very boring people, I
Yes.
think, and I do strive. I don't. I'm not fearful of calling myself an accountant, but I do strive to not live up to that particular expectation.
I think, isn't he described as being too boring to be of any significance or something? We are a million miles
I
from that.
hope so.
That's what
Otherwise,
I
it's going to be
wanted
a
to
very
stress.
short
Yeah,
call.
I absolutely wanted to stress that it is certainly not that. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and we were talking about this sort of technology evolution, and like going back to my early days at EMI in the 80s, when we were like building our first PCs and floppy disks and all that stuff and punch cards and so on. And that all started by accountants. It was I was working the management accountant team. It was all the accountants that actually started the computer network in
Yeah.
that company. Right? So it's
Yeah.
far from, like you said, just sitting there like Bob Cratchit or so on.
Yeah.
There's a million miles from that.
I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? I am very proud of my qualification. It was, it's a high quality qualification. It was the best in the UK, of the UK qualifications at the time. And it is extremely, it's hard fought, and to maintain it, there's a continuing professional education requirement that I've met every year. So I'm very proud of that. And technically, I work hard to stay up to date. I wouldn't define myself as an accountant in what I do. I think as in the role of group financial controller, it's a much more plate spinning type role. But I couldn't do that, and I couldn't do that job without that basic fundamental qualification. And again, I think if I was advising people about career steps, it's about getting those fundamental, getting the qualifications, getting the certificates, the diplomas, because that learning gives you the grounding for what you want to do next. There will always be somebody who'll take a chance that you can do it without the qualification. But for me, if you have somebody offering you, to help you get a qualification, do that, because that's going to be transferable, and it's going to help you to keep growing as a professional.
I'd very much echo that. And of course, from our point of view as Callisto, we're primarily a training organization, and we have professional qualifications ourselves. And it's interesting now, like with this shift to AI and these other innovations that are around, how when you kind of look at the shared service center world, for example, how so many people are now saying, oh, I must go and get computer qualifications. I must learn how to write programs and all that kind of stuff. And our advice is, yes, absolutely. But first of all, learn your trade, because you can't really write programs if you don't know what it is that you're writing them about, so qualifying credit or finance or, whatever it may be. But it's kind of like, I kind of describe it like building a house without the foundations. You have to know, you have to really know the basics, don't you? Which is what, and you said, and you're through your qualifications, you have to refresh every year. You have to go back and do something to kind of keep up to speed.
Yeah.
That's
but I hope I'm not the stereotypical accountant.
Far from it. We've well established that already. Absolutely. Okay, so I wanted. You were talking about studying and so on in the 80s, and if I just wanted perhaps go a little bit off piece for the questions, but going back to, you were at Durham University,
Newcastle.
Sorry. And did that was that a good time? Did you enjoy kind of being away from home and all that kind of stuff?
Was
it
absolutely. Absolutely. I think that is the in my view, of quite traditional views, you go to university and you don't go back and live with your parents unless if you can help it. So I have a daughter she's 23 now, but it also, she went to university, and all of her friends went back to live with their parents, and it's like, I don't think that's right. So for me, that's the way it should be, because you're the adult. You need to adult in all aspects of your life. It's no point being an adult at work and then having your mum make you tea every night. In my view, I'm sure that's fine for some people, but I think independence is not something that you compartmentalize. You're either independent or
Yeah.
you're not. You can't be partly independent, I think, but that's just my view. Yeah, I loved university. I loved working in Newcastle. I loved working in Singapore. Um, at the the kind of that lifestyle before you have a family is very social. You spend a lot of time going out with people and doing different things. So yeah, I enjoyed that time very much indeed.
Yeah, I was going to explore that a bit more. You said you touched on it again then, and in the beginning, you were saying about you spent some time in Singapore.
Yeah.
And speaking as I was an expat when I was 10 years old. We moved abroad, and I'm an expat now. I'm living in
Yeah.
Hungary now. Do I do it does I think there is some kind of common thread through expats that it's like we're saying about university and being away from home, it sort of
Mhm.
helps you to be more independent. I think, would you agree that actually being an expat as well kind of gives you an extra layer of adaptability or strengths and so
Yes.
on?
Yes, and so I went to Singapore obviously as an accountant. Again, that qualification gave me transferable skills, which are globally recognized, if you like. So it was interesting to go to Singapore. Things are done differently, of course they are in Singapore. I worked for one of the big firms, so for Coopers and Lybrand, and fit in, really nicely. You go, I went with the ambition of, living like the locals, doing what the locals do. And I just going to move this screen around a bit because the sun's moving. And just really to throw myself into life in this country. Um, the challenge is, of course, is that you don't have, apart from work and that you know building relationships in the work environment, um, you find yourself drawn to the expat way of working because socializing, sorry. So
Yeah, it's familiar.
you just gravitate towards people who want to do the same things as you. So on a Friday night, we wanted to go for a beer. That's not the Chinese way in Singapore. Um, and so we didn't go out with the Chinese. But I think we struck a really good balance. We enjoyed the expat, we enjoyed the traveling in the area, and we enjoyed the integrating a little with the local teams from my work and from my office. So it was yeah, it was interesting. I think the thing it does is it gives you some confidence that to bring experience from somewhere else and lifting yourself up and trying to do your job in another environment and where there may be slightly stranger customs or things just don't work the same way. I think is good because it's all about growth and learning new things, new ways of doing things. So I would definitely um, support people to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important at some point that we go to an environment where we take away the safety nets in it, and then yeah, like you say, you just have to adapt, don't you? The
Yeah,
fact
you
is,
do.
you are where you are. You just have to, whether that's university or it's like emigrating or working abroad. It very much gives you that. I do feel it gives you that extra confidence and proves to yourself often that
Mm.
you can do things on your own because
Yeah.
you just have to, don't you? At the end, sometimes you have no choice. Um, okay, so coming back to your work as a company executive and so on. What kind of challenges do you face? And also, we're also interested in exploring, sort of from a female perspective as well as we may. Did you encounter any prejudice and so on? And maybe wherever, any point in your career.
Yeah. Um, so I'll come back. I mean, the challenges I face as an executive are the same as any executive, which are, you're trying to drive business, you're trying to support the business, and in a business services environment, all you can do is support, be agile, be responsive to our customers. And at Computer Center, we are extremely customer focused. We need to, innovate, and therefore that does put a pressure on the finance teams in some cases. The perpetual challenge of resource, having enough resource, not having too much resource, finding ways of improving, finding ways of automating, finding, particularly in the process environment, finding ways to be clear with the business about the guardrails within which you want them to operate. Again, within Computer Center, we have a very empowered culture, but the empowerment is within a guardrail, and there are clear rules about what an account manager, for example, can do, what they can't do. So the sort of challenges are around that. Audits, of course, and audits, seem to take up more time than ever before. But again, for every challenge, you have the common thinking, which is, okay, what is the challenge? What are the resources I have? What are the possibilities for addressing this challenge? How can I support it? And then moving forward and executing a plan. We have a new CFO at Computer Center, and as a result of that, we're undergoing quite the transformation project at this point in time. So for me, as the sort of the next level, I'm designing, I'm implementing, I'm motivating the teams to take part in that transformation project, and so that's quite consuming at this point in time. If I go back to I'll take more questions on that, but if I go back to your question about being a female in a workplace, and in particularly in the IT industry, which tends to be male dominated, has that ever been a challenge for me? And I up until about 20 years into my career, maybe 25, I would have said to you, absolutely not. Don't be ridiculous. There is absolutely no difference between male and female and the way they're treated. Um, I never, I don't think of myself as being the only woman in the room. Quite often I am, but I don't think of it that way. I think, I'm the only Karen in the room, and I bring a unique perspective, which is only Karen's. But then so does, John, and so does everybody else. They have their own unique perspectives, regardless of gender, regardless of ethnicity, or any of those things. So for me, I don't see the discrimination, I think was the word you used, but I don't see anything happening like that. What I did, what the one thing that I did work on, and again, this is quite an important part of my career and my Anneka Rice moments, is that we in the UK, we have to start reporting on something called the gender pay gap, and it's the difference between the average salary of men compared with women. And it's a really blunt instrument. It's 1 month of the year. It's average and mean and median measures, and it's very blunt, and it's a pointless measure in many ways, except how it moves over time. So as the finance person, as the accountant, I'm looking at the numbers, and the gap, the measure of the gap is not the worst in the industry, it's not the best, but it is what it is. And what we have to focus on is how that moves. So we have to reduce the gap between male and female. And the only way you can do that is to have more females in senior positions. And so what I was doing, I two things happening. So the first thing was a piece of coaching for me. And again, if I come to my tips at the end, it would always be, see if you can get a coach. because the personal culture, it can be transformational. And we were working on profile, and we were working on how I would drive my profile within the organization. So, you know, having been there 20 odd years, it's still not necessarily having the position around the decision making table that I probably should have had. So we were working on profile and how we did that, and got quite a lot of really strong methodology and insight into that. And when I then kind of try to apply that against the gender pay gap in the organization, how could we get more females into senior positions? As a company, we were bringing in graduates and the entry level grad scheme type things in equal proportion, so as many females as males. But when you get to the middle management, mid to senior management, the females weren't there, and we were trying to understand why that was. What I decided, I decided together with our HR director at the time, and we decided I would run a program, and I would take the learnings from my coaching and work with the L&D team, learning and development team, to create a program within Computer Center to help middle level females just to make that next step. Okay, so the program was it's called Growing Together. It's absolutely Karen's program within the Computer Center group, and I'm extremely proud of it. It is an award-winning program, I'll say that, and we've had over 200 females go through that program over the last 5 years. What the program does is it takes some of the learning, the things that I learned during my coaching, and we put that into a program for more ladies. 3 elements to the program. First of all, that personal coaching piece, personal and group coaching, and that's not trying to fix the women. There's nothing wrong with the women. It's about how the women are working, and the coaching will bring out things like that sort of transactional analysis on how you're interacting. So where have you stepped into a child mode and let somebody take on a parent position? So moving conversations to adult rather than parent to child, that sort of learning. Thinking about growth mindsets, I can't do that, I've never done that, I can't do that. And if you just add the word yet onto the end of that sentence, that turns it to a growth mindset. I haven't done that yet. I can't, I'm not very good at Excel yet.
That's
But you
really
can, if you
powerful,
need
actually.
to be, you can be. And that, that kind of growth mindset piece, understanding, being agile around what we call agile around the SDI triangle. So understanding what people are doing, understanding belief cycles, and all of those sort of things are part of the coaching. But primarily, it is to explain to the females, actually, this is how you're working. Sorry, I'm trying to avoid the sun. I wonder if I move back this way, whether I can get away from it. Sorry, I'm just going to spin back round this way. No, that's no better, is it? Let's see. We're going to have the sun in my eyes. No, now it looks like the Blair Witch Project. I beg your pardon. I'm going to go back to there. Bear with me. Apologies for this, everybody.
Yeah,
this is the sunshine in the UK. It doesn't happen very often.
It's a beautiful moment.
There we go. I'll just keep chasing away. Yeah, so all of those that learning that the only thing that is holding back your career is you and your own mindset. And once you get that, you build a much more confident female talent pool who are able to take a more active role in the leadership of the business, whether it's at one step above, one more step. And thinking about those things in your day-to-day work really helps. And so the program has been an enormous success in that we've had lots of females taking that next step. So we have job family levels, and we target level 5, and the aim is to get those level 5s moving up. And we've been really successful with that, giving just by giving people more confidence. The second part is about networking. So the other thing that I think was holding the females back was about the access to decision makers, the visibility, the people not knowing who the females were that they would choose from for the next leadership position that they were recruiting. And so it tended to be, oh, I know this person, I'll put them into role. I know this person, I'll put them into role. And quite a lot of that, the people who you spend days and days with, and you and therefore you recruit in your own image and without necessarily thinking about the breadth of experience. And so what I did was this networking element of growing together is to create events to my promise is I will get you in front of our CEO and the senior leadership team. You come to these events and you will be there. Once you're in that room, I don't want to see you talking to your friend. I want to see you networking with the leader of the UK business or the CEO or the CFO or somebody else and step out of your comfort zone and go and speak to them, because you want them to be your sponsor and to be thinking about you when they're thinking, who could do this job? Who could take on this next role? I need somebody to do this. Who have I spoken to? You want them to remember you. And so what we were doing in Growing Together was creating that network. We also use mentors. So again, at first I was using my network within the organization to mentor people off Growing Together. It's got a bit bigger than that. And now we have a really strong network of mentors. And everybody in the business wants to do this. I get no pushback, but it's just organizing it. So we have a sort of a process whereby as people finish their coaching, they say, this is where I need some help in the organization. We have a bunch of mentors who say, this is how I can help people. And we match them up like on Tinder, Tinder for mentors. But and that's worked really well and really successfully, and again it creates business contacts for the people in the team, and yeah, so I'm very proud of that. We've and it has moved the dial a lot on our pay gap stats, on our gender reporting, and the way females feel in the organization. And it's it was a UK only program. It's now a group program. So I yeah, extremely proud of that. Did I mention that?
And so you should. And I think, and if nothing from the other side as well, obviously the mentoring is supporting other people and helping them to be their best selves. Yeah. I also think from the point of view of being a mentor, and I do this as well. I was mentoring a student at university a few months ago, and I've been, I suppose through my career, I've been mentoring a lot of people, not always with a label on it. But it's incredibly satisfying, isn't it, as well, to give something to somebody else and to share
to
your
see them grow and to value your input. So, and I, even though it's my program, I do still mentor people, and I take people on where I think I can help a bit more. So yeah.
We were just, I was just asking as you were describing and growing together as well. Splendid title as well. That's it really kind of, it describes what's in the tin, doesn't it? Very much so, and it's a really good comment. Really good.
It fits with our corporate values are called winning together values, so that it sort of fits with that, but growing together. And then I've also then developed a more senior female leadership program called Leading Together, and it follows on, and so that's also very successful. And this is not about, this is not about trying to promote females at the expense of males. Please don't think I'm man bashing in this program. I think it's just about creating the visibility and the confidence in people, and addressing some of the, you know, the more stereotypical behaviors of females, which is I'm going to work hard and wait to be discovered, which is what, by the way, what I had been doing, going to work really hard and just wait for people to come and congratulate me. Whereas the typical male behavior is, look, I've taken the bins out. Can I have a round of applause, please? And
Yeah.
it's just addressing that. So just giving people confidence. And there are as many, I know as many men who would benefit from growing together as females, but we do it for the females only, I'm afraid.
And I think, and going back a bit, because we were, you know, I kind of asked you earlier, you know, sort of about qualities and so on. And when you said that when you joined 30 years ago, you know, it was very much in the formation of what it's become. So that, would you agree that there has to be, well, you said it just now, you know, that you were going to kind of wait for somebody to recognize you and so on. But through, is there, what am I trying to say here? Yeah, I think you have to kind of push yourself a bit as well. And when you see opportunities, you have to say, I'd like to be involved in that. I'd like to know more about that. You know, you know, talking to your colleagues and peers, and just by being curious, I think that kind of helps to raise profile. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would. And I think, you know, again, it's hard to summarize the many hours of coaching that we did, but if you just stop and think about, you know, what went well for you in the last month and how could it have been better? Who did you tell what went well? Who knows how you feel about it? What didn't go so well? What would you have liked, you know, what would you have liked to have changed, and why? And just thinking about those things, and even just talking them through with a colleague, you know, in a less formal way. I think that's the drive that you need. So sometimes, you know, some of the things about profile that I learned, and again, quite a personal comment, is that sometimes I would just listen to other people and I wouldn't speak up. And one of the things that I absolutely is my absolute mantra, and anyone in computer center knows this now, but my absolute mantra is speak up. I shouldn't tell you this, but it's probably weaved into most of my personal passwords as well, but it's I have to change it now. But the speak up, always speak up, because sometimes you need a little visual clue and a visual reminder. So write something on a piece of paper at the beginning of a meeting. But if you're in a meeting and you're not speaking and you're not saying anything, you shouldn't be there. You have to speak up. You're there because you bring a perspective, whether you're male, female, or whatever. You bring the perspective, and yours is a unique perspective. So going back to, I'm the only Karen in the room, you're the only you in the room, and we need to hear what you think. Otherwise we wouldn't bother having you in the room. And that's the thing that I would say, is always make sure you speak up. And that's my mantra now.
No, and I can think of so many times when I've been in meetings or whatever, and I haven't. I thought, oh, you know, this isn't my place. I must keep quiet and so on. And then you hear what other people say, and you think, yeah, oh yeah, I could have asked that question. My thoughts were not wrong. Yeah, and I think that's very much maybe what this mentoring brings out as well, isn't it? That you're not going to look an idiot if you say something, basically, are you?
Yeah, exactly. I've just seen a question about the mentor program. So do we prepare the mentors? And we do, in that we have some corporate mentor mentee type learning that we have available, and some notes about how to get the best out of that relationship. We also take our Growing Together mentors and make sure that they are aware of what this program is about, but you know, that we don't set them with a specific mission, because I think it has to be a very fluid relationship. They know what this person wants, and you know, our guidance will be, make sure you understand what the mentee is trying to get and what the mentor is trying to get out of the relationship. And once you know, then it becomes fluid and absolutely personal between to people. So they are prepared in that they have some general guidance, but it's well, and what we don't do, you know, is we don't marry. You're not marrying this person. You're not with them for the rest of your life. If it works, it's great. It's for you to keep going. If it doesn't work, call it at 6 months, say, and come back to us, and we'll find somebody different for you. So it's always, you know, I think mentors and mentorship is something that's right for a period of time. It's not right, you know, and if you, no mentor is going to be upset if you say to them, do you know what, I think we can not do this anymore. I think I'm going to move on to a different mentor. Nobody's going to be upset by that. They get an hour back at least.
I totally agree with that. And one of the
Yeah.
skills of a good mentor is just got to keep asking questions, isn't it? Because
Exactly.
And often very often I think the mentee has the answers themselves. It's giving them just the confidence to get to the point where they can articulate it. And so but it is a very rewarding experience and initiative. And Irina, who asked that question, is actually from IFF, which is next door, literally next door to the computer center team in Budapest. So hopefully they'll get together and have a chat and talk more about it over a cup of coffee than there in Budapest. So thank you for that question, Irina. And also we had a comment from a company called Viking office in Cluj in Romania. And they also have a similar program as well. So it's good to know that these things are certainly growing.
And I think you know, one of the things that we do, and I think some of the senior leadership in Computer Centre are, you know, remain a little skeptical about how beneficial the programs are until they see, you know, me going to talk to one of our major customers about their program and sharing notes and exchanging notes, and you know, that's the kind of thing. There's a lot of very large, very successful companies have a program of some sort. We can all learn from each other, and so, you know, having that as a point of discussion in a sales environment even is a good thing. So
it's definitely, and I said before we went live that one of the things we want to do as Callisto is to have a similar kind of group, you know, as a women's group or a wellness group, something we want to launch later. And I think we're very much building the foundations that we've identified. There are all these different initiatives going on, and hopefully, you know, we can create some kind of community where we can bring it all together. I'm finding that all this really inspiring. Even myself, I've written down the word "yet," and I think I'm going to add that into a lot of things that I want to do personally as well.
Yeah. One more tip, if I can, which
Please.
comes out of that coaching and that thing is, we've done a lot of work in that on personal branding and just giving some thought to what is it that you want people to say about you when you have left the room. So you pick 3 words that you want them to say about you, and you know, you have those words, and then you check yourself. So every interaction that you have, you then say, okay, let's say, for example, one of my words is excellent. Okay, so what I would do after I've had an interaction, I would say, okay, was that really excellent? Did they get excellent, Karen, in what I've just done, or was it average, Karen? You know, and how can I dial it up? And you learn from that, and you check yourself against your 3 words all the time, regularly. And you can do that either individually. It's a great exercise to do as a team as well, of people. But if you have that personal brand and it's a really strong brand and you believe in it, then you know, it can carry you a long way as well, and it can help you drive and make sure that you're living up to your brand, your aspirational brand. And then you can go, you know, take that one step further and actually ask people, what 3 words would you use to describe me? And see what is the level of correlation between what you're hoping for, what you're aiming for, and what your people are actually saying. And that then gives you a whole area of work to do and things to address and work on as an individual.
What were the 3 again? It was excellent.
So well, my 3 are excellent, engaging, and oh my goodness,
Did you
I've
say
forgotten the
average? Did you
third
say
one.
average? Did you say average?
No, I didn't. I didn't
Sorry.
say average. No, I'm very definitely not aiming to be average.
Definitely not. No.
Yeah, but engaging and trusted is the other one.
Trusted. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are my three. That's what I aim for.
Excellent, engaging, or trusted. Yes.
Yeah.
That's those are three very good things to aspire to.
Yeah.
So can I be trusted? That's really important, isn't it? With all the things you're talking about, leadership and
Yeah.
mentoring and so on, that's probably page one, isn't it? There's got to be confidence in the other person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we are. Time is rattling by.
I know. How
such
quickly did that go?
Well, yeah. As I said, you know, that I didn't think we'd be able to get everything in the hour that we said, but just to I think let's. What do we got left then? Kind of 4 minutes or so. So two things in quickly. Then where are you going in the next 3 years? Sort of yourself or within your professional path? What's it? What do you see? Yeah, the next sort of 2 or 3 years.
Well, the next 2 or 3 years, we're working on. We have a whole bunch of transformation objectives. We have new systems. So we have a very busy agenda at Computer Center, and I want to be able to lead that and lead those transformation initiatives. So that's at least the next 3 years, I think. I mean, longer term, and I don't know when, by the way, I'm not saying when this will be the case, but I am approaching an age where you start to think about dialing back, let's say. And, I also have a non-exec directorship with a company in a completely different sector. And I think that not because, again, as a professional accountant, audit committee chair in an organization, a smaller organization, it is something that I've been doing for the last 3 years. It is a great opportunity to see another business, so I definitely would do that. I think adding to that portfolio as I'm dialing back Computer Center is probably the way I'll go, but I've no idea when I start that. It doesn't need to be yet, and nobody's pressing me for that decision. So I'll just deliver the transformation for now.
And apart from walking the dogs, how do you relax?
Mostly walking the dogs, if I'm honest. I think it's a big job, and I have to be disciplined to leave the office. It's the kind of job where you never finish your to-do list, never ever. So you have to be disciplined and say, right, I'm leaving. I've got to draw the line here. I'm not one of these people who will do the all-nighters, and I never have been through university, through work. I would always put sensible limits on how late I would stay. So it's yeah, I get home about 6:30, 7 o'clock and walk the dogs and then have my dinner and sit and watch telly with my husband. I love
Go! Sorry.
That's okay.
My fault. Sorry.
No worries. But I am, Sunday lunches, socializing with friends. That's the kind of thing I do.
That sounds pretty good to me. So, Karen, we have come to the end of our time. I was seeing the comments here. I think one comment we got is thank you very much for sharing your story. It has been truly inspiring. I don't think I can add anything to that. It really has. It's been an absolute pleasure listening to you today. I know a lot of people are going to take away a lot of things what we've been talking about, particularly from our side. You are, as we said, you're incredibly busy running this huge organization, and you spent 2 or 3 hours helping to prep it and to deliver it with us today, and we are really honored and really grateful, and thank you very much indeed. So everybody else for joining us. I say an indication also a very good guest is because we kind of look at the number of people that join our sessions, and when they and when we finish, and when you have the same number at the end as when you start, you know that you've done something
kept everybody
well.
interested.
Kept everybody interested. So really, yes, can't thank you enough. Bless you. Thanks very much. Good luck with everything, and hopefully we'll meet up sometime and have a glass of wine.
Okay, thank you.